Hey everybody, this is Hogan Brown with Loon Outdoors, and today I'm going to show you how to tie a pretty simple and versatile kind of balanced leech or suspended leech pattern. While I call it a suspended or balanced leech pattern, you could tightline nymph, check nymph, euro nymph, whatever you want to call it with this fly, or you could probably even strip it on sinking or immediate line and catch trout or bass. Personally, I fish this a lot under an indicator during the winter in some of our canyon reservoirs in Northern California for spotted bass and even trout. So it's a pretty simple fly using some cool materials that are and cool new hook and kind of just some stuff that is pretty easily attainable, but at the same time kind of new. So first thing with this fly is going to be the hook. And there's a lot of ways to create that balanced hook or that jig hook style. What I've been using is these new Voodoo XXX strong hooks, okay, 1/16 ounce. This is the black nickel, okay, size 4. You get them in 5-packs. You can buy them from Hairline, probably at your local fly shop. And there's bigger weights, but for kind of the most well-rounded, the 1/16 or the 1/32 seem to get the job done for me. So I'm going to start just with some simple black thread. Okay, and it's basically, you know, if you're looking at the chassis of the fly, it's basically a woolly bugger, you know, and that's nothing wrong with a woolly bugger. But there's a couple kind of new things that we're doing with it that kind of, I think, spice it up. And with any woolly bugger or any variation of it, there are multiple variations in a lot of different ways that you can spice up the fly, change how the fly looks, and kind of make it your own or make it fit best for your fishery. So the first thing we're going to do is, once we get that thread back, is lay down some marabou. And one thing that I do that's kind of a tip, I don't know, most people I think do something like this, is I will, if you notice, tie that marabou right on top and lay the length of the marabou down the hook shank. It's going to make a lot cleaner, and let's be real, I don't know if it really matters to the fish. But just a lot cleaner looking fly is we kind of trim that. So what kind of one of my pet peeves when I'm tying these type of flies is I don't like to tie in just a clump of marabou right here, if you see where my scissor point is, and then trim it as close as I can, because you get this big hump. And then that's going to basically predicate that if you want a uniform looking body here, that is then going to be the width or thickness of the fly throughout, and you're going to have to make up for that in here with just piling dubbing. So I'll tend to, if I can, tie all these marabou fibers. I'll give you another clump here. Take it again, set it right up there, and then tie it all the way down the hook shank. And if you look, what's really nice is those marabou fibers, when they're set on top of that hook shank, they almost naturally taper too. So you don't even all you got to do is lay dubbing down on top of that, or chenille, or whatever you want to use, and you're going to have this naturally kind of tapered body. So I'll do 2 clumps of marabou. This is definitely one of those flies that, you know, and marabou is one of those materials that, like, I don't apply the less is more. It's almost like I put more on than I think I need, because 9 times out of 10, once the fly gets wet or beat up by a few fish and these fibers get chopped or broke or whatnot, and mainly just get wet, I'm usually a little disappointed with how the tail looks. So the next thing I'm going to use is some spawn. Okay, Sailfish Sea Collection. Okay, it's basically a Simi seal. Okay, this is the mega line, and this is the kind of, it looks very, if you look at it, it looks very peacocky. Okay, it's the color's Polychaete, and I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that right. Okay, but it's a really cool kind of peacocky type of color. And again, with any of these flies, this style of fly, you can make it your own in any way you want. So I'm going to start with and I do this with a lot of my Simi seal type of dubs, is just a really loose application. Okay? And because you really want those fibers to pull out. Okay? You definitely don't want to pack this down. And even as you kind of loosely palmer it around, and I'll even throw some in there and like tie it in almost, you'll always kind of get some extras and just set them right on top, tie them right back in. And then I'll take that and I'll pin it back. And it's like you look at that and you're like, okay, that's kind of how I want that to look. I want those fibers to come back and fold back over and give it that nice kind of semi-seal leech look. Again, do the same thing. Pull out some of the extras, grab a little bit more. Put that in there. And you take those, pull them forward. And if you can see, it is buggy and long. But as we pull that back, it gives you that kind of leechy pullback look that we all, you know, if you fish still water, you know. And again, you can tie this in a variety of colors. This is kind of an olivey, you know, kind of good general, match a bunch of different bait fish, leeches, even a crayfish or two if you're a bass fisherman like me. And you can spice this up. You can add some rubber legs if you're looking for more of a bass fly, or you can trim it down and shorten it up and, you know, do a little shorter tail. Maybe throw some flash in the tail if you're looking to do a little bit more of a leechy style of pattern. So I'll get up pretty close to the head. Just again, give all that dubbing a little bit of pin back. Give it a couple different wraps. And you could very easily give that, you know, a little dubbing head and tie it off and call it good. But I'm going to give it a little kind of hackle. And so I'm going to take one of these mallard flank feathers, which is going to be one of the bigger feathers from the bag. And I'm going to pull the bottoms off here. Okay, so I have the feather just like this. Then I'm going to take the feather, pull it down so just the tip's sticking out. Okay, just like that. Okay, now I'm going to take my scissors and cut that tip off. Okay, you can save that tip for a bird's nest or something. Then I'm going to pull those fibers forward, okay, like this. And I'm going to set that right on top of the fly, with each of those fibers sitting across like this. Then I'm going to take a loose wrap and just spin it. And it's going to give me what amounts to a nice little soft hackle. Super easy. Then trim it off. And it's not perfect. Rarely any of this is, so I'll go around and kind of pick it out and look at it. But just something to break up the fly with that mallard flank and that striated fibers down the side. And there's a lot of different ways you could do this. You could tie legs on each side, peel clumps. But I kind of think that's a pretty simple and easy way to do it. Now I'll take a little bit of that same colored dubbing, and this time I will pack it down. Okay, I will twist it on there tight because this is going to be my head. Give it a few tight twists to kind of seal that up. You can see it's definitely nice and tight, but even at that, it is still buggy. And give it a couple wraps and tie it off. There you go. Now at that point, again, the fly could be done, but one thing I always like to add to a lot of flies, especially in cold water situations, is a hot spot. Okay, so I'm going to take the UV fly hot orange, okay, shake it good, and give it a dollop right in between where I thread wrap and almost up onto the bead. Okay, just like that. I'll hit that with the UV light. Any of these pigmented ones, I definitely give a good cook. Then I'll take some of our UV clear thin, turn the fly, and just get the collar for that extra durability. Give it a little bit over that colored spot to secure it again. Give it a couple twists on the Regal vise and seal it all in there. There you go. Pretty simple, straightforward, suspended balance leech, kind of with some new materials out there with the spawn fly fish dubbing and the new hook, new jig hook from Hairline. Just a real simple, versatile way to kind of entice those cold water fish, those cold water trout and bass. Alright, I'm Hogan Brown with Loon Outdoors. Thanks for tuning in, and tight lines.